you. For starters, I was living next door to my ex-boyfriend. He had moved into the apartment building next to mine during our second year of dating, which was great until we broke up. Suddenly, I found myself unable to leave my apartment unless it was the middle of the night, because I would rather do laundry at 1 in the morning than answer the question, "So, how have you been?" And of course, if the daily risk of seeing your ex in person isn't bad enough, there's also the moment-to-moment 21st century hazard of encountering him on the internet. I didn't unfriend him when we broke up as a virtual gesture of goodwill. Things had ended amicably enough after all. I didn't see any reason to bar him from my weekly posts of a cat sleeping. However, 2 months after we ended our 3-year relationship, I noticed that he was popping up in my newsfeed more frequently. Then I noticed that these weren't his posts. Someone else had started tagging him in her posts. Some of you may believe that once you end a romantic relationship with someone, the way that person henceforth conducts his love life is none of your concern. Some of you would also be wrong. I subscribe to a different philosophy, wherein the way that other person conducts his love life is subject to your biased, unfair criticism for the next 6 to 12 months. Longer if he broke up with you, at which point you actually earn the right to Instagram stalk his new significant other until you have at least 5 reasons to hate them. And if he did not break up with you, this privilege is still available to you on the condition that your ex moved on way too quickly. Too quickly, of course, being a totally subjective measurement that can mean anything from the next week to a year later, but it still hurt my feelings. When these cryptic posts... Are you okay? When these cryptic posts started appearing in my newsfeed, my ex and I had been broken up for 2 months. That is 5.5% of the total relationship length, which meets both the actually way too quickly requirement and the hurts my feelings requirement. So, as was my right, I clicked on this stranger's profile because I don't love myself. What I saw was disheartening, but it wasn't enough to push me over the edge. It was just a lunch date here, an inside joke there, and that was fine. This was part of breaking up after all, and I was a grown-ass woman with an arsenal of coping mechanisms that were only sort of unhealthy. And the truth is, this would have been fine if I had stopped scrolling before I saw his bitch-ass tag in the picture of a clouded leopard. This wasn't just any clouded leopard, it was Long Choi, one of the clouded leopards at the Nashville Zoo. The zoo where I've been a member for the past 5 years. The zoo where I volunteer every Halloween supervising the corn pit. The zoo where I took my mom for Mother's Day, where I took that ex-boyfriend for his very first kangaroo encounter. If he was taking another woman to the zoo, maybe this wasn't fine. This was betrayal. And betrayal enacted another clause in my philosophical contract with the universe. On the occasion that your ex goes to the zoo, picks up a flamingo-shaped knife, and sinks it into your back, you, the stabby, are entitled to life as a scorned woman. And a scorned woman is absolved of her responsibility to behave reasonably because she has been betrayed. It was at that moment, at the pinnacle of this treachery, that a calendar alert went off on my phone. AT&T payment due tomorrow. Since we'd broken up, I had been tiptoeing next door on the 5th of every month and slipping a check under my ex's front door for my half of our still joint phone bill. Tell me about it. According to my calendar, it was time to make this journey again. And my contractual obligation to use good judgment had just been dissolved. I texted the details of my plan to a friend. She texted back almost immediately. Don't do that. That is a terrible idea. So I texted another friend. Convinced that a second opinion would confirm my hunch that this was, in fact, a great idea. She also texted back almost immediately. No. That is definitely a bad idea. But I had already made up my mind. In fact, I had already done it. I texted both friends, oops, too late. Then I attached a picture of the check I had just written my ex-boyfriend, where I had written in the memo line, "Hey, dumbass, tell your new girlfriend to stop tagging you in shit on Facebook." I slipped that check under his door. And yeah, when he opened it, he probably saw my note. Maybe it broke his heart. Maybe it pissed him off. I don't know, but that's not why I did it. I did it because I knew that eventually he would have to deposit that check. This was 2013 after all. You couldn't put a check in the bank with your phone. You had to drive down to your local branch, stand in line, and look somebody in the eye through a thick layer of plexiglass. I have spent hours imagining the bank teller who processed that transaction. The way her eyes skimmed over the check, quickly at first, mechanically, and then suddenly, more slowly. The way her eyebrows crept up her forehead as she read the memo line. The subtle note of restraint in her voice as she asked, "Sir, is there Anything else we can help you with? Later that evening, when I was sure that the conditions of my tantrum treaty had been satisfied, I came home to my apartment, pulled up my ex on Facebook, and blocked him.